left-handed shooter here. All right, so I'm gonna do a quick video on the last request that I got from a follower on my Facebook page, and that was a good single stack 9mm concealed carry capable handgun. So I've gone through magazines and listed, or not listed, but looked at lists of multiple 9mm single stack firearms, and I kind of narrowed the list down to about 5, simply because obviously being the follower being left-handed like myself, left-handed shooters naturally want to have something that's either going to be A, ambidextrous, or B, be able to convert the magazine release over to left-handed release, or just making it ambidextrous, one of the two. So out of that list, I came up with 5 that I thought personally were good. Sorry, I have the computer up with the list on here. And I'm not going to go into the dimensions, the details, the size, or anything like that. It's just going to be simple, straight to the point, capacity, and capability of being ambidextrous or not. So list goes as such. The Ruger LC9S. I've heard a lot of great things about it. I believe one of my followers actually has an LC9. Capacity, from what I read, was 7+1. I don't know the aftermarket support on magazines for additional rounds, so it kind of leaves you with about 8 rounds. Normally what I recommend is if you're going to go with a single stack that's got a limited capacity, I strongly encourage carrying a second magazine just to double up on that capacity. So if you have a 7+1, carry another 7-round mag, you're sitting at 15 rounds instead of just your 8, 7+1 in the chamber. All right, so next gun, 6-hour P938, which comes with 2 magazines usually. Sometimes it'll come with 3, just depends on what kind of specials you can get. And that one comes with a 6-round magazine and a 7-round magazine. So right there you're looking at 6+1 and a 7+1, depending on which mag you have loaded. So if you have a 7+1 in the gun and you have your additional 6-round magazine, that puts you at 14 rounds, just one shy of the Ruger LC9. I myself actually own a SIG P938. Actually, as a matter of fact, I brought it in right here real quick. As you guys can see, chamber flag's in there. No magazine inserted. This thing's completely empty. Let me go ahead and drop this chamber flag out. I'll talk about this one a little bit. One of the cool things is with a hammer back on this one, you can keep the safety up. From the factory, it comes with an ambidextrous safe. So as you can see, this is a safety for a right-handed person, and here's a safety for a left-handed individual. So the reason I got it ambidextrous primarily, even though I am left-handed, is this gun is primarily for my wife, and it is also in my concealed carry rotation. So I got it for her because it's versatile, small enough for her to handle. She can shoot 9mm real well. I didn't want to get a 380. Not because I don't think the 380 is worthy, but I keep consistency in my house. 9mm is the smallest handgun caliber that I own. So if you guys haven't seen the video, I did a quick review on the SIG P938, but honestly, I think it's a great gun, well balanced, shoots well. I've shot, I believe, 3 or 4 different types of rounds through it. Haven't had any issues, put a couple rounds through it already, and it's still performing really well. And on top of that, I went through, I believe it was Apollo Concealment Systems. They do Codex holsters, and they were one of the only ones that I could find that had a holster for a SIG P938. Here it is right here. I got an OD green, got it with the sweat shield on the inside. Appendix carry, that's usually all I carry is going to be appendix, just because it's what I'm most comfortable with, and I don't know, I enjoy it more than trying to carry at the small of the back. I feel like I can protect the gun a little bit more for, worst case scenario type situation. So that's the SIG P938. Again, does have the ambidextrous safe. I don't believe you can swap out the mag release, so unfortunately that's one of the downfalls for that one. Next one, Glock 43, comes with a 6+1 or 7+1, usually carries 2 magazines. Just depends on where you're shopping. Same thing, you can get one that has 2 6-round mags or 1 6 and 1 7, so roughly you're sitting between 14 and 15 rounds, just depends. As you guys know, the safeties on the Glock are all internal, or on the trigger and everything, so it's got its standard Glock safeties. But the benefit to the Glock 43 that I personally like, which comes out in all Gen 4s and on, so the Gen 4, Gen 5, and obviously the Glock 43 is a Gen 4, is that you can reverse or swap over the magazine release to the right-hand side, so it's a magazine release for a left-hander shooter. Me personally, I don't swap any of mine. I keep them as is. I've just learned to adapt on dropping the magazine out with my trigger finger or my middle finger on my strong side, just because it's easier for me to do so in that manner. So yeah, that is one of the perks of having a Glock 43. As most of you know, I am a huge Glock fan. I've owned 4 different Glocks already. I'm actually looking into buying a Glock 43 for myself so my wife can take the SIG P938 and that'll be her primary gun, and I'll just keep the Glock 43. I'm a big fan of Glock. I like the way they function, I like the way they feel, and I like the reliability on them. So there's that one. So that one is a little bit more left-handed friendly, so to speak. Another one, I just picked this one out at random. There's several companies and manufacturers out there that produce micro 1911s, I guess you can call them, and that's actually kind of what the SIG looks like if you look at it closely. It's got the same thing. It's got the locking bar and everything, you know, almost disassembles exactly like a 1911, just in a small frame. So the next one that I have lined up is the Kimber Micro 9, which, again, some of them don't come with ambidextrous safeties from the factory. However, you can install an ambidextrous safe, or, you know, attach that safety lever to the right hand side, so now you have an ambidextrous safe on it. Capacity on those, 7+1, same thing. I believe almost all of them are 7+1. There might be a couple that are 6+1 only, but that's another one that's ambidextrous. Not so much on the magazine release, but at least with the safety, makes it a little bit easier to use. I know external safety levers on 1911s can be a little bit tricky to manipulate when you're left-handed and you don't have it in ambidextrous, or you don't have an ambidextrous safety selector on it. And the last one, another popular single stack 9mm is the M&P Shield. From what I've read, it's got a lot of good reviews for being a single stack 9mm. That one comes in 7+1 and 8+1, so that one's actually got the highest capacity out of all of them. The one thing I will say, going back to the Glock 43, is the Glock 43 now has aftermarket support from ETS. If you guys haven't heard of the company before, they make a lot of magazines for different guns, AR platforms. They have a lot of Glock magazines for the standard, you know, 17, 19, and a couple of other calibers. But now they've released single stack, higher capacity magazines for the Glock 43. So you can go as high as, I believe it was 12. It does look a little bit ridiculous. You know, I'll just use this one as an example. I mean, I saw an image of it and it had the magazine sticking out, you know, tremendously off the bottom. Some people may not like that, so my recommendation would be carry your standard magazine and have a higher capacity magazine as your backup for the Glock 43 at least. As far as the other ones, I know for the SIG P938, you're only getting those 2 options: a 6-round mag or 7-round mag. That's about it. Kimber Micro 9s, same thing. You're stuck with whatever the factory produces. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of Glock, but Glock's got a lot of aftermarket support for holsters, for magazines, for accessories, for anything you can think of. They have a lot of aftermarket support. They're pretty much like the Honda Civic of the gun world. There's a lot of aftermarket support for those guns in pretty much any caliber and size. But yeah, those are my top 5 picks. You got the Ruger LC9, the 6-hour P938, the Glock 43, Kimber Micro 9s. I selected Kimber specifically just because I have a couple of Kimbers myself. But any Micro 1911 in a 9mm works fairly well. Kimber, SIG, Remington, you name them. Most manufacturers out there have a micro version of a 1911 in 9mm, so there's always that option. And then the M&P Shield. Those are my top 5 choices if I ever had to choose between them. I already own one on the list, working on getting a Glock myself. So, yeah. Like I said, Glocks have huge aftermarket support. The biggest thing that's always going to become an issue is who's making reliable holsters for concealed carry for these single stack guns. The most common ones that have support is going to be the M&P Shield, Glock, the XDS, and probably the Ruger. The SIG took me quite a while to actually find a good reliable holster that I felt confident in purchasing, and it's functioned well. Very slim, very small. It makes it feel like I'm not really carrying a gun at all, which is usually the purpose: comfort and concealability. But yeah, it all comes down to what you can find and what you can get in a holster to support your carry needs, whatever position you carry in, or if you choose to have a single stack as a backup. But again, that's my top 5 picks. Ultimately, one thing I always encourage is always buy a reliable holster. I became a big fan of Kydex, and Kydex holsters that cover the entire trigger guard, not partial, not any of that, covering the entire trigger guard, because that is where most negligent discharges occur, is in a crappy holster or a holster that exposes the trigger to any type of object to get in its way and potentially set off the gun. Safety or not, you never know. I just prefer getting full encompassing holsters for mine. So whatever's out there that you can find that's producing good holsters, go ahead and go with that. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. Leave a comment below. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. As I said earlier, most of my videos will be going on there, and then I'll be just sharing them to the Facebook page. Also, for my YouTube subscribers, if you would like to get more detailed information on a regular basis through social media, I post on my Facebook page quite regularly, whether it's links to different products or experiences that I've had with specific products or firearms or ammunition, things of that nature. So go ahead and click like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to check out the Facebook page as well. All right, take it easy, guys.